Okay, I'm going to work through another homework example. This one's from chapter 5. So hopefully this will help you out when you go to do your homework. Again, this is not one that I'm asking you to do. Okay. This one is problem 513, which is on factorials. Okay, so let's take a look starting at the whiteboard. And again, we want to plan out our attack here before we get to Eclipse. Okay. So this wants us to do a factorial. Okay, and that's defined as n factorial is equal to n times n minus 1 times dot, 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 all the way down to 1. Okay, and of course the 1 doesn't really matter on the answer, but so for example, 5 factorial is equal to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2, and then times 1 just for fun, okay, which turns out to be 120, which is something we can test in our program, okay? So let's think of how we could do, what do we have in chapter 5? We have iteration loops, okay? We have for loops, we have while loops. So let's think about a for loop here. Well, first off, if we're going to iterate, so we're doing iteration here, right? We're going to do this multiplication 1, 2, 3, 4 times, okay? And we're going to move from a 5 to a 1, okay? So that's a counter base. It's not based on a random event. So that means we can do a for loop, right? So a for loop's a possibility. So we can do a for loop here. So let's think about it. If we have, remember the book problem says to use a long has more space for this total we're going to get, or you could call it something else. You'd call it factorial or fact or f, whatever. So if we initially set that equal to 1, let's say, okay, and then we have to have some other variable, doesn't matter. We could say like an int c equals 5. Okay, then what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to have to loop. Okay, so I'm going to have to loop through from 5 down to 1. And then each time multiply that times the total. Okay, so we're going to get 5 times 1 the first time through, and then 5 times 1 times this total times 4, then that all that times 3 times 2, and finally times 1. And of course you could go 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5. Either way you want to do it. Doesn't really matter. Okay. But that's the idea here. So if I'm looking at code here, I could do a for loop for this interval. I could do a for, mouse is getting, or my pen's getting funny, for int I, let's say, equal to 1, if I'm going to go that way. Okay. Why are my pencils jumping around? As long as I is less than or equal to c, this 5 here, and then do an I plus plus. Okay. Inside of my loop, then I can get my factorial being equal to whatever it was before times this new number coming through, so times the I. Okay. And then I can print out the results. So that's going to give me 1. Okay, so let's just black box this. If this is going to give me the factorial for some number c, okay, and it's got the loop inside, but we need to put all of that inside another loop. So we have another loop for here, int c from 1, and again, according to the problem, as long as c is less than or equal to 20, so it's 1 to 20, c plus plus, okay? So inside of that, we're going to do all of that. And then when we're done with each factorial, we're going to do the print in a tabular format inside of here. Okay, so we're going to start getting this to work for some number c. We'll use 5 because we know it's 120. Then we're going to put that around it to get the whole table. Okay, so that's the game plan. So let's go over to Eclipse and see what that looks like. I'm going to share everything here because I determined that you guys can't see the pop-up screens when I go to do things. Okay, so again, let's do here a file new. This is what you weren't seeing. You weren't seeing this dialog box. Okay, so again, this is going to be C5P13. And yes, I would like a public static void main. Okay. So again, for your homework problems, you would want to put up here, you know, your name, problem, number, whatever it is you're doing. Okay, name is important. Problem number is important too. Okay. There's not much complicated in here. I mean, maybe you could put something like 5 factorial is equal to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 equals 120, just so we can test it. Okay. This one has no input, so there's no reason to use a scanner or any of that stuff. Okay. So let's go down in here, and we're just going to go ahead and start with the inner, what's going to be our innermost loop. I usually say do the outermost loop first, but let's do the inner one first this time. So I'm going to calculate the factorial for C equals 5. That's just, we're doing that just as an example. Okay. So we're going to need this long for our factorial. And it may not let me do factorial. That may be a word that's protected. So let's set that equal to 1. Yeah, it's okay with that. So we'll call it fact. Okay. So we can now loop through this. So I'm going to say for, I'm going to use int I for my counter. We want it to start at 1. We want it to end, and again, I didn't set it here, but I need to set an int C equals 5. We're doing the factorial of 5. Okay. So I'm going to start at 1. I'm going to end when, or I'm going to continue on, sorry, when it's less than or equal to C. Okay. And then I'm going to do an I++, keep it moving. Okay. So inside of this loop, then I'm going to take whatever the factorial is, and it's going to be equal to the old factorial times whatever I is. Okay. So the first time through, it's going to be equal to 1. Then it's going to be equal to 1 times 2. And it's going to be equal to 2 times 3. And then it's going to be, then it will be 6. It'll be 6 times 4, 24. And then 24 times 5, which is 120. Okay. In fact, if you want, we can go ahead and trace this process. We can do a system.out.println. And since this is a print statement, I don't want to keep forever. In fact, I'm going to do a printf. That's was trouble I was having before. So I'm going to put some asterisks in here. Okay. And then put in that fact. Okay. Fact is a long, which is a digit still, so we put a D for it. Okay, and then put in fact. Okay. Again, I put those asterisks there because I want to know in the code. It's a shorthand for me. Again, we've talked about the ritual of programming, the way we always name things. I always do things with asterisks there, and I usually do 3, so I did more than that. So I can look in a very long program, and if I see asterisk, 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 and then I know that's a print statement, then I need to at least comment out so it doesn't actually happen. But I want to see the progress here. Okay. So let's run this, see what we get. Okay. Oh, I did a full screen. That's really weird. Let's try going back to that. No, that's weird too. I don't know why I did that. Very strange. Okay. You can still see it though now that I'm sharing everything, I'm assuming. Yeah, well, now in the console here, I have to be able to see it. Yeah, so this gave us, and I need a, again, over here, let's do that, or not that. Yeah, I don't like this. I'm full screen, I don't like it. So we get a 1, then we get a 2, okay, and then the next thing, this guy has a 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 4 is 24, 24 times 5 is 120, okay. So I'm now convinced that things are okay. Okay, I wonder if I can change the. Is that better? I still can't see that window. Really weird. I guess I put it over there. Okay. I don't know what I've done to my system, but I'm sure there's a way to fix it if I mess with it long enough. Okay, so I'm convinced now that this is doing the right thing. Okay, so I can either comment that out. Okay, or I'm just going to get rid of it because I don't care about that anymore. Okay, just so we can see what's happening. Okay, so now it's working for 5. So we now just have to get this to work for 1 through 20. And then we got to fix the printout, but we'll worry about that later. So let's go back to here. Okay, and instead of putting in a single value here, let's do a for loop on the C. So I'm going to say for, not die, for int C, I want it to start at 1. I want it to continue as long as it's less than or equal to 20. That's what the problem said. Then I want to do C++. Okay, so that's going to give me the values 1 through. Okay. One issue we have here is that I can't declare this as a variable every time, so I've got to go up here and say long fact up here. Okay, that'll give me an error. Okay. So what doesn't it like there? Why doesn't it like C? Because I didn't put in that. I need one more of those. Nope, the other one. Still the other one, that one. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Yeah, those get, you have to close them all. Okay. So, and again, we can always put notes to that. So now we've got this outer for loop here. Okay. We're saying for C is equal to 1 through 20. The first time it's a 1. Okay. So we're setting fact equal to 1 every time. We're now going into this loop. It's going to go all through this loop. So this loop's going to go all the way around and around and around until we're done with the factorial. Okay. So we're going to need to print out here. Okay. So we have to do our print out results here. Okay. But then it's going to stop and go back around and get the 2. This will be set back to 1, and then it will do the 2 times 1 and so forth. Okay. So this should do the job for us. So let's just print out these results first. Then we can worry about the tabular stuff. Well, I can leave the comment there. So the results we're looking for is the factorial. Okay. So I can just say system.out.print f. We're going to print out the results, and let's just put in there C. I guess I am doing a table. The digit for C, a space, and the digit for the factorial. So that's a C fact. Okay. That's going to be ugly, but at least gives us an idea. Okay. Again, we're looking for that 120 to be 5. Oh, sorry, 5 to be 120. Okay. Let's run this, see what we get. Oh, it's ugly because I keep forgetting to put in a percent in. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, so I mean, we're kind of in a table now. It goes off a little bit, but we can fix that. But you see that 1 factorial is 1, 2 factorial, 2 times 1 is 1, 3 factorial is 3, 3 times 2 times 1 is 6. 24 is correct, 120 is correct. 120 times 6 is 72, then I can't do the math anymore. Okay, but you can see why we're using a long, the numbers get really big really quick. Factorials are huge. But is this correct? I mean, you could double check it. I feel like it is, but you can either look it up online or do it on your calculator or whatever. It's going to put you in scientific notation for sure. Okay, but it seems reasonable. Okay, so what I would do to make this a little prettier because that is a little, when it goes to 10, it kind of goes off. So I'm going to go back over to here, and I'm going to put in a tab character instead of a space. Okay, so again, a tab is the \T. Now I run that. Yeah, it looks much better. Okay, and you could put in some more things here. You could, up here before you start, you could say something like printf string tab string. We're going to put in number, and you're going to put in factorial. Okay, something like that. Keep forgetting it's system. It's the only language I know of that makes you do all this. System.out.printf. Okay. So we'll see if that does anything. Yeah, looks reasonable. Oh, I need to put here, it's not reasonable. I need to put here a new line character as well. There we go. Looks pretty good. Okay. So I think that's a reasonable problem, reasonable solution to that. So, I mean, hopefully you find that helpful. Okay. But again, unlike the other program that I did, this one, I didn't start with the outer and went to the inner. This one, I got this part working. Okay. Again, I wanted to get this working for one value and then repeat it through the outer loop. Okay. So that's kind of the idea. Okay. So the only other thing to say, I think, is that I will continue to do these. I mean, I've gotten a few comments already that these are useful. So if they are useful, let me know. I think that that's important. But the other thing is the videos that I put on YouTube, I'll link them to Moodle, but they're also available. They're publicly available. So if you go to YouTube, on any of the videos, you can subscribe to my channel, whatever that's supposed to mean. And then there's a playlist for the Java programming class. So that way you have all the videos there together and you don't have to worry about clicking on all the links. Okay, so if you want to go back and do something else that you may have missed, then you can certainly do that. Okay. Okay, so that's it. We're going to be meeting in a couple of hours for office hours. So hopefully you'll be able to do that. And if you have any questions, make sure you let me know.